In Reconsidering Reification, the works of Adorno and Jameson show the use of manipulative methods of media on the masses to help audiences reconsider the position and objectification within capitalist society. Adorno reconsiders the prior view of the culture industry, but in doing so mentions the problems that it creates and the value that is placed upon its products and the people. This is aligned with the reification regarded by Jameson as a Marxist extension of the objectification of people, which he insists is not a means and end split, but integrated. The Culture Industry Reconsidered was published in 1963, however the term cultural industry first appeared in the Dialectic of Enlightenment in 1947, which was written by Adorno and a fellow colleague, Max Horkheimer. The Frankfurt School, a school of social theory and philosophy, associated in part with the Institute for Social Research at the Goethe University. His theory is embedded in his claim that the customer is not king as the culture industry would have us believe, not its subject, but its object. Adorno suggests that media wants us to think that we are in control of how things are presented, what is in the market. However, it is the culture industry itself that is driven by capitalism that enforces what we should value. Adorno translates the term culture industry in this work as being mass culture, or mass media. He argues that this culture industry perpetuates ideas upon individuals and creates a collective consumer mindset that is forced upon the masses. The ideas are standardized and while they may look different, contain the same ideology. He reiterates his theory by concluding that the total effect of the culture industry is one of anti-enlightenment. Enlightenment becomes mass deception and is turned into a means for fettering consciousness. Adorno clearly warns the reader that the culture industry should be taken seriously in its impact to the public. Adorno views the mechanical production of art has made art accessible to everyone. Hence, there remains a boundary between high and low art culture no more. People may be able to access art through internet exhibitions, copies of the original, but the original still lies with the rich. From our interpretation, Adorno is not fond of the cultural industry and views the masses not as primary, but as secondary. The consumer thinks that they are in control of the objects, but the consumer is the subject of those objects. Thus, the culture or product comes first, and the consumer second. To a certain extent, we agree with his critique of the overarching control the media plays upon the masses. Furthermore, we agree with his perception that the culture industry falsely pretends to serve as gratification for the consumers, but in reality is numbing and weakening their mentality through dehumanization, servitude, and deception. Yet we disagree with his dialectical outlook of value as only means and ends, considering Jameson's interpretation. In Reification and Utopia and Mass Culture, Jameson agrees with Adorno that cultural industry objects are in commodity form. He gives various examples, such as books, and how they are read for the ending, as opposed for the pleasure of the content. He mentions films have become objects that rely on intertextuality, as did Adorno, yet it has become a tool to integrate both the means and ends together. Reification in Utopia and Mass Culture was originally published in Social Text in the winter of 1979. Jameson was considered to be a Marxist literary critic in English writing. Jameson interprets Marx's definition of reification as commodified activity or production. He states that capitalism ends up reorganizing human activity when objects are measured monetarily. Jameson argues that when these objects are created through an itemized process, the content depreciates, as with culture becoming commodified. Jameson illustrates how people are manipulated in consuming an image by how he discusses that books are not read for the satisfaction of reading, just read for the ending. He depicts the forms of reification utilized in mass culture and symbols used in films to conjure material images and objects produced for mass consumption. Jameson shows how in mass culture there are no original texts. In books, music, or film, there is the same narrative structure and the consumer is manipulated into thinking they are seeing something new. Jaws and The Godfather are different from your typical just for entertainment films. They show a deeper meaning because they confirm the existing social order, but also offer a utopia returning to old values. Jameson discusses how these films offer a way to cope and confront American culture while creating the illusion of social harmony. Our response to Jameson is that his theory is paradoxical. Mass culture is not a means and end split because it is an ongoing cycle that is not sustainable on its own, and is neither good nor bad but leveled and integrated. Labor is a means but is also an end, just as is money is a means but it is also a means to an end. Because there is a problem with false value, every binary opposition is categorized by good and bad, positive or negative. You cannot have the end without a means because you cannot have one without the other, without breaking the chain and disrupting the perpetuated cycle. The consistent use of the structures of the culture industry have now become further subversive and explicit in production of content within careful, symbolic containment structures, which diffuse it, gratifying intolerable, unrealizable, properly imperishable desires only to the degree to which they can again be laid to rest. The importance of understanding the evolution of the culture industry addressed by Adorno and Horkheimer with a revision by Jameson enables the audience to understand that they are the object but do not have to be. By understanding tactics industries use to manipulate and manufacture a customer base, the audience can act in their best interest as opposed to those of the culture industry. We can realize and conjure our own culture.